Alright, so here is the review video for Module 2B, Quiz number 2's review. Everything's already filled out, so just follow along with why we have things go the way they are. So for this first section here, we got to remember Mr. Slope Man, and remember Mr. Slope Man had an eyebrow that went up, which meant we were positive, and then an eyebrow that goes down, which means it's negative. His nose goes up and down, which represents the undefined. And then his mouth, it was kind of a grimace that goes side to side, which represents a slope of 0. So looking at our first graph here, this is positive, right, because the eyebrow is going up, right? It looks like it's going positive up eyebrow. Negative, because this graph is going down, which represents, his right eyebrow. This graph is going straight up and down, which represents from his nose, which is undefined. And then this last graph here represents like his mouth, which is a slope of 0. Now, when we write the graph or the equation here, if we look at this point is -1, -4. This point is -1, -3. This point is -1, -2. And look, the x's are always -1. It doesn't matter what the y's are. That's why we have x equals -1. Same reasoning behind this 0 slope, y equals -2. The y value here is always -2, no matter what our x value is. All right, looking at this graph here, our x's are adding by 1, our y's are adding by 0. So when we rewrite that as a slope, it's 0/1. And if we do that in our calculator, that gives us a 0 slope. And y is always 96, so that's why we have y equals 96. On the other side here, we're adding by 2 for the x's, and then we're subtracting by 15. So we have a -15 over a +2. Well, that's a negative slope. So that's why we write negative, right? We still have a negative inside of that equation. This next one here, we have -15 going down for our y's, 0 for our x's. So we have -15 over 0. And if we do that in our calculator, we would get like an error. So that's going to be undefined. And since our x's are always 1, then our equation is going to be x equals 1, because it doesn't matter what the y is. X is always going to be 1. This other side here, we're adding by 2 and adding by 15, so that's 2 positives, so it's a positive slope. Looking at number 9 here, we have the slope of 3 and a point of 3, 2. So the point slope form is y is equal to 3 times x minus 3, because we do the opposite of the x inside of point slope equation, because remember, x's are liars in the point slope form equation. And then plus 2. However, the point doesn't lie to the table, so it's 3 and 2. Our slope tells us to add by 3. And since it's only a 3, that means we just add by 1s going down our x's. And that's not getting closer to the slope-intercept form, which is what we need to find. We're trying to find the intercept. So instead, we take that 3 and 2 and we start going backwards, which is where we get 0, -7. And that -7 is our y-intercept. So when we write slope-intercept form, we have y equals 3x minus that 7. Please remember, your slope between slope-intercept and point-slope form don't change. They're the same. Looking at number 10, we get a point-slope form of y is equal to 3/2 x minus 4 minus 20. Again, the x's only lie in the point-slope form equation. It doesn't lie when you put it in the table, so copy it into the table. This 3 up here is the math for our y's, which is why they're both in purple. And then this 2 at the bottom is the math for our x's, which is why they both have an orange arrow. And so as we go down the table, it's not getting closer to our slope-intercept form, so that means we have to go backwards on our table. So we bring that 4 minus 20 in blue that we started with, put it at the bottom, and start going backwards. So going backwards, we subtract by 2, which is how we get up here to this 0. Going backwards on the y means we subtract by 3, which is how we get up to -26. -26 is our y-intercept, so we can write our slope-intercept form of y is equal to 3/2 x minus 26. Looking at number 11, our slope is 3 and our point is 3, 2. and that's the same point slope form as number 9 above there. When we graph, though, we first want to plot our point, which is an x value of 3 and a y value of 2. So we find x is 3 and y is 2, and that's how we get this pink point here. Now our slope tells us to go up 3 and right 1, and when we do that, well, that's getting further away from us finding the y-intercept. So what we have to do is we have to go ahead and do the opposite movement. And the opposite movement is going to be down 3, left 1. So when we start doing the opposite movement, down 3, left 1, well, now we're getting closer to the y-intercept. And when we do that move 3 times, we get to the y-intercept of -7. So we can write our slope-intercept form as y is equal to 3x minus 7. Again, slope doesn't change. When you have the y-intercept, you just need an x, and then you write the minus 7 from the y-intercept. Number 12, we have a point slope form of -8 over 5 times x plus 10 plus 10. Again, the x is what lies in the point slope form equation. We plot this point first, which is this pink point. Our slope is a -8 over 5, and we have one negative, so we use it once. And I'm going to use it with my 8. So that means -8 means I'm going to move down. And then since the 5 is positive, I'll move right. And when I do that movement one time, I am getting closer to my y-intercept, so I'll do it again. And after the second time, I do get to my y-intercept, which is -6. So I can write my slope-intercept form equation of -8 over 5x minus 6. In number 13, first we want to write the point slope form, which is y is equal to 6 times x minus 3 plus 5. Remember that only the x lies in point slope form equation. That's the only time it'll lie. Then we take that point slope form equation and we distribute 6, so 6 times x and 6 times -3. 6 times x is 6x, 6 times 3 is -18. Bring everything else down. Combine like terms, -18 plus 5 gives us a -13. And so our slope-intercept form equation is y is equal to 6x minus 13. Number 14, point slope form is y is equal to -2 times x plus 8. Remember, x lies in the point slope form equation, plus 12. The slope-intercept form we get by distributing the -2 from the point slope form, which means multiply. So -2 times x is -2x. -2 times 8 is -16. Bring everything else down. -16 plus 12 are like terms, and when you add them together, you get a -4. And so our slope-intercept form is y is equal to -2x minus 4. In the next round, we plug into the slope-intercept form, which the basic form is y is equal to mx plus b. M is our slope, b is our y-intercept. So our slope represents the letter m, our point, the 3 is our x, the 2 is the y. When we write point slope form, we write it how we've been writing it. But when I plug this in, I have y equals mx plus b. So I change this y into a 2, because y is 2. I change this m into 100, because slope is 100. I change this x to a 3, because x is 3 from the point. I don't know my b. Then I do 100 times 3, which gives me 300 plus b. And that equals to 2. We brought everything else down. To figure out b, 300 has to go to the dark side. And when someone goes to the dark side, they change, their sign change. And since they change totally, they're no longer on the side where they weren't on the dark side. So 2 minus 300 gives us -298. All we're left with is that b, which represents our y-intercept. So our y-intercept is -298. So when we write this in our equation, we have y equals 100x minus 298. In number 6, our point slope form is y is equal to -12 times x plus 2 plus 16. When we plug this into the slope-intercept form, our y is a 16. M changes to a -12 because that's our slope. And our x is a -2, so we replace x with -2. We do the math of -2 times -2, which is a +24, so we have 16 equals 24 plus b. We have to move 24 to the dark side, so we subtract it on both sides, and if it goes to the dark side, it's no longer on its original side. 16 minus 24 is a negative 8, which represents our y-intercept. So our slope-intercept form equation is y is equal to negative 12x minus 18. Next up is some error analysis. So Mia was so busy on her phone that when she was working on the quiz to write point-slope form from the information below, she made a silly error when taking her quiz. So our slope was 5, our point is 3, 4, and Mia wrote y is equal to 5 times x plus 3 minus 4. And she made her error because she wrote x plus 3 and a minus 4. Y's don't lie. Only x's do in the point slope form. So it should read y is equal to 5 times x minus 3 plus 4. Julius had his mask askew covering his face and missed how to find the y-intercept from a graph, so he made a mistake. So he got this answer as his slope-intercept form. We're going to see if that's right. So first we got to see if he plotted the point 3, comma, negative 1. So x is 3, y is negative 1. So from our origin, x is 3, y is negative 1. He plotted that first point correctly. However, our slope is negative 8 over 3. So that means you go down 8, right 3. And Julius did not go down 8, right 3. It looks like he went down and left, which is incorrect. So we're going to show the correct way on the graph, which you see as this orange point. But that's getting away from our y-intercept. So that means we have to go in the opposite direction. So that means we go up 8, left 3. So going from our original point, up 8, left 3, gives us a y-intercept of 7. So we can write our correct slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to negative 8 over 3x plus 7. 18, again. Malik was so busy on his phone Thursday that when he was working on the slope-intercept form from point slope form below, he made a silly error when taking his quiz. So we have the slope of negative 8, a point of 5, comma 4. So it looks like he wrote the point slope form correctly, but it looks like he did not distribute all of the way. So he didn't multiply negative 8 with negative 5. So what we did was we corrected it. And when we do multiply by negative 8 with negative 5, we get a positive 40 plus 4. And 40 plus 4 gives us 44. So we got y is equal to negative 8 plus 44 for our slope-intercept form. And Quentin was also so busy saying this was doing too much when learning how to plug in on Thursday that when he was working on writing the slope-intercept form from the point slope form below, he made a silly error when taking his quiz. Now, here is his error. Obviously, you just saw the answer. But he plugged everything in correctly, right? This 6 is our m, which he replaced. This point x, he replaced correctly. This point 9, he replaced correctly in the equation. So he replaced everything correctly. He did 6 times 3 correctly, which is 18. But his error was he added 18 on both sides. If someone goes to the dark side, that means you switch their signs. And if they go to the dark side, they are no longer on their original side. So all we're left with is a b. And then we have negative 18 minus 9, which isn't 9, but a negative 27. So our slope-intercept form is y is equal to 6x minus 27. All right, that's the video for today. I'll also post the answer key as well, but watch the video if you don't forget, or if you have forgotten how to do one of the sections or why it's happening. And good luck, study hard, and I'll see you next time.